So how did you guys actually come to be? Like, what was the start of Yes Theory?
So after graduating, I kind of wanted to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
There was like obviously naturally the path of like, getting a job and kind of building a structured, predictable life. And I saw that for me, and I like had a moment of like, oh boy, like if I go down that path, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out. And the idea of getting out of my comfort zone felt like a very powerful way to break that routine. And so I decided that I wanted to do something around getting out of my comfort zone. And then I met Matt, who's also part of Yes Theory, and he showed me this show called The Buried Life, which was about these guys on MTV doing 100 things they want to do before they die. So they have like a big bucket list. And I watched that, and at the same time, Casey Neistat had just launched his vlog, daily vlog, and he said his goal is to create a daily, something creative every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched those things together, and then I had this idea of wanting to get out of my comfort zone, and it started with, okay, I want to do 30 things I've never done before in 30 days and make a video about it every single day. And that we called it Project 30. And as we were kind of organizing that, I met Amar, who snuck into my best friend's graduation party.
Yeah.
And I told him about it. He loved the idea. And he was just kind of visiting Montreal and moved in on my couch. We had a lot of synergy. He was building like an app that was very similar to like the philosophy of kind of getting out of your comfort zone and all that. And we just kind of started to, it was very spontaneous. Like I was just so open. I wanted not just the ideas to be out of my comfort zone, but the whole process. And usually I'm a very planning, meticulous kind of person. I pick carefully who I work with and whatever. And this time Amar seemed like a cool guy, smart guy. I was like, let's do it. And I just basically met Matt, and we just kind of started to make these videos together, and one thing led to another, and like we just decided to fully commit to
that's awesome.
to YouTube.
We definitely saw like the standard path in front, because we're 19 years old. We were half of us were in college, half of us were looking at what degrees we're supposed to be getting, and a lot of us changed that path because of what we're doing now. We've dropped out, deferred a year. I think we're good. It's kind of scary. Yeah,
that's
for
amazing.
Sure.
So you guys are all were you in college?
Yeah.
You were in college, and now you're deferring for a bit.
Yeah.
To keep. Yeah, I mean that's amazing. Our lead editor, Tommy, is Matt's younger brother. He also deferred college for a while because he joined us halfway through. He took some like part-time classes, but it's on hold for now.
Yeah.
It's worth the opportunity. Like it's such a once in a lifetime thing to do that. Yeah, totally. Why not?
Yeah. Well, it was about the idea of like how we found you, and with differing school, because we're in a team dynamic, and that's why we're so excited for this podcast, because most people that we have on, they're huge on TikTok or YouTube, but it's them, right? They're an individual.
Yep.
But kind of similar to us, we don't have a name as our logo. We have a brand, and without something we're trying to build to be bigger than just ourselves.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love it. I mean, when I saw you guys all walk in, I very much related to the feeling of like just like friends building something together, and
just having a ton of people. Like
exactly.
Yeah, it's fun. Like whenever we walk anywhere, it's like there's just so many people. Like we're together all the time, so. You have your good days and bad days, but everybody.
So you had 2 cars driving down here from Seattle?
Well, what it was we had 2 cars drive 18 hours, and we didn't. We just had a couple people switch off.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Kai slept the whole time.
Literally
the entire time.
He woke up to eat like some pizza, and then he went back to bed or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we came down a month ago to do some interviews, and we took down one van. So just one hot 9-seat van making it down to California.
It was so bad.
It was pretty bad.
That was fun.
It smelled like 8 dudes in a van, basically.
That's so funny.
It was pretty bad.
I can relate to that too.
Yeah.
So that's what I really want to kind of go into, is the idea of how we're really new, we're learning, we're growing. We started at the very beginning of quarantine.
Yep.
But it's
wow, so it's brand new.
Yeah, about
that's
2-3
4
months.
months. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
We just want to learn how we work in a team, and how we can really, what is that like, especially when you're moving out to LA, you're doing the big things, you're collabing with people.
Yep.
That process is just insight that I'm sure like our fans are really interested in, and we would really benefit from.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's like there's a quote that kind of resonated with us a lot, is like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think going alone, you can make decisions faster, right? Like you can decide, here's what I'm filming tomorrow, boom, go do it. But when you're in a group, you have to kind of sometimes decide. In a team, you have to decide who does what. So it takes a little more time sometimes to move, but overall it's so much more rewarding to do it together. I think for all of us, we're so grateful. We kind of trade off. like we each have moments in time when we like need a break, or we're kind of on the verge of burning out a little bit and we want to take a step back from videos. Then the two others step up and just host more. And so we kind of have like a pretty good flow when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, we were having for a while, like what's hard when you're making videos together is everyone's got personalities and everyone's got opinions, and there's also like egos, you know, like all of that gets mixed into like this cocktail of conversations that kind of need to be had. And for a while and we still do to some extent, we would have like interventions. So we would, like, if one person was doing something that was just like not cool for like the rest of the team, or like even what we could tell like felt wasn't good for them, we'd all sit down and we would talk about it.
Yeah, we do the exact same thing.
You do the same thing?
We call it poker night, though.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, you have to be like brutally honest, but also in a way that shows that you care. You know, you're not being a dick about it. You're like, okay, you know, here's something that is bothering me that I want to talk about. And there's always bubbling up emotions and whatever, but it felt very counterintuitive at the beginning, but it was kind of like a survival technique in a way. It was like, we don't have a choice. Like, we have to address these things, or it's going to it's going to show up in other ways, right? In like resentment and whatever. And it's good to just be able to break it down and sit down and talk about it.
That's insane, just how that's what we're trying to be better at, is exactly that, talking to each other, not allowing microaggressions to continue, just saying it out loud. I mean, I think that's what it is. People just feel comfortable, and we need to get better at it. Like, we'll talk about it a little later, but we were talking about this today on the drive here. But it's getting out exactly what you're saying, because if you don't say it, the other person doesn't understand it. And they could be doing something so wrong, but to them it feels right. And just that, like, saying it out loud makes everything so much better, and that's what we're trying to get better at.
Yeah, I mean, communication is so important, and then respect and just being honest. Like, I used to be somebody who struggled with honesty, because I was like, I thought I was being nice by not telling the person something, you know, but then in the end, it ends up showing up in the other ways. And now I've learned that honesty is actually one of the nicest things you can do for yourself and for the other person. So just not being afraid to be straight up and talking about things and putting it out on the table. What I've learned is, like, you always, in your mind, I'm like kind of a catastrophizing person. I think about like the worst case scenario. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I'm always like, what's the worst case scenario in this situation? How do we like make up for that? But I've realized that most times when you just sit down and talk, like 99.9% of the time you figure it out, you know, and then it's just from there you just show up with empathy and work through it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like, when you guys like go on like trips, and like you guys go on like a lot of trips, right? And so how does that work in like a team dynamic? Like, not even just a team dynamic. Like, how, like, is it like super fun, or like is it like kind of like
how
stressful?
do you say sane while having fun? That's kind of like what it is. Like, not lose it.
Yeah. No, totally. I mean, that's the thing. Like, every trip is kind of different. You know, I went to the least visited country in the world, and I went alone. And I met some really cool people out there, and we ended up hanging out and kind of like partying a little bit. Like, after I was done shooting, I didn't really capture it. It was just like a cool moment. And then other times when I went to Bhutan, which is like, according to some people, like one of the happiest countries in the world, I was just alone, and there was not much nightlife, and I was just kind of alone in my hotel room at night, like not doing anything, you know. So every trip is different. Is that what you were meaning about?
I guess like when you go with the entire team as well. Yeah, because that's a different thing when you leave the studio.
Oh, for sure.
And that's what we've experienced coming down here to California for a little bit.
Yeah, and like when you travel somewhere, do you already have like a set goal on what you're gonna do when you get there and stuff like that? You like prepare like ahead of like what you're going to do, or you just kind of just go with the flow?
For sure, that's a good question. I think it's for a while we would like go to a place. Like in 2018, we just went to Thailand. We had no ideas. We were like, okay, we're going to be here for 3 weeks. Let's figure out some things to do. Now we're much more meticulous in the way that we pick what we want to shoot, and then we go to the place to do it. We're trying to be more organized so that we're like, you know, coming up with multiple ideas in the area, but we're way more picky with what kind of ideas we go for. So now we pick ideas first, then we go.
Okay.
And then more like we very rarely go with the whole team. It's usually like we figure out like what's the best way to split up, like who's most excited to go. Sometimes the tickets to go there are really expensive, so like it wouldn't make sense to bring like 4 people. It's like, okay, 1 person is enough, or 2 people or 3 people, and then we just figure it out that way.
Was there a point where like was there a point where everyone was like, yeah, it might be what's best is not everyone goes, but some people just don't want to be left behind. Everyone wants to be a part of it, but it's not practical for the business. It's not practical for what you guys are building. Was there a period like that, and you guys kind of got over it? I guess
for sure.
Yeah,
no, that's
okay.
a good question. Absolutely. At the beginning, we were way more like, I don't want to miss out on any episodes. You know, like missing out on one was like, this is such a bummer, right? And then the more we start to do it, the more it was actually kind of like, we know that there's like, if we continue doing this, there's an unlimited amount of possibilities of like times we can go on these kinds of trips. And so you don't mind like staying behind once in a while and just have time to work on some other things rather than filming. So more and more we like enjoyed the balance. I think there's times for Ammar, it's unfortunate because he's got an Egyptian passport, which requires like, it's really hard to get visas to travel to a lot of places. It can take weeks to get permission to go somewhere. And we're not organized enough to know weeks ahead of time what we want to film. So rarely he's able to come because of that.
Yeah.
Because he would need to go to the embassies and spend weeks with the passport away and all that stuff. Whereas for me, I have a Swedish and a French passport, and I can just go anywhere, basically. I mean, with a Swedish passport, it's very easy to travel. Not these days, but before COVID and all that.
Yeah,